The usually reserved young master of the capital's elite circle suddenly posted a picture on his social media of two hands wearing matching rings. The comment section was full of congratulations. Even my usually cold husband posted a simple congrats. But no one knew that the woman in the picture was me. I smiled apologetically. Sorry, honey, I just made the same mistake every woman in the world might make. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. When I received Bert Pedler's text, I was fooling around in a hotel with my new lover. I'm flying back tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'll be staying in the country for a while. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, my husband from our business marriage is coming back from abroad. Suddenly, my phone was taken away and casually placed on the bedside table. The handsome man in front of me removed his black t-shirt with one hand. His well-defined abs were completely exposed in front of me. My favorite lean muscle type. Cyrus Mercer raised an eyebrow, displeased. Are you not fully focused when you're with me? How could my cold husband compare to the attentive young college student? I couldn't be bothered with Bert's message. I reached out and lazily wrapped my arms around Cyrus's neck. Sweet talk always came naturally to me. It's just a message from someone unimportant. He's nowhere near as important as you. You know, I like you the most, Before I could finish, Cyrus suddenly lifted me off the bed. Feeling my body suspended, I could only hold him tighter. I pouted and lightly punched his shoulder. What are you trying to do? Cyrus looked down at me, a faint smile in his dark eyes. He spoke casually, do, with you. A scorching kiss had already landed. My lips were sealed, leaving only muffled, intimate whispers. The moonlight entwined. The silent spring waters were stirred. Afterwards, Cyrus still leaned against me, gently rubbing his hair against my neck. It tickled a bit. I couldn't help but sigh. Young college students are the best, so young and clingy. Now I know, the hardest thing in the world isn't a diamond. The phone on the bedside table kept vibrating persistently. I glanced at it casually. It was still messages from Bert. He reminded me to remember to pick him up tomorrow. So annoying, I didn't want to deal with him. Cyrus also saw the constant notifications on the phone screen. He let out a low, ambiguous hum. Then, I felt a cool sensation on my finger. I raised my hand to look. A matching silver ring was now on my ring finger. Cyrus lightly curled his lips. I just bought these matching rings today. This way, no annoying men will bother you anymore. His tone was calm, but there was still a childish hint of jealousy. I just smiled indulgently. Okay, I'll listen to you. I only want you. After all, little lover need to be coaxed. Cyrus was finally satisfied, his expression relaxed. He picked up the phone and then held my hand with his left hand. Under the lens, his large hand completely covered mine. He pressed the shutter. The incredibly intimate moment was captured just like that. Cyrus posted it in his friend circle right in front of me. I propped up my face, teasingly asking him, "Aren't you someone who never posts on social media? Why are you announcing us now? Have you finally accepted me as your benefactor?" Cyrus paused, then said in a muffled voice, "Silly girl, today is our 3-month anniversary." Only then did I realize. He was expressing his love for me in his own awkward way. Cyrus propped himself up and pressed me down again. His voice was tempting. "You forgot our anniversary, so there should be a punishment. Shall we do it again?" This time, the kiss grew even hotter. The next day, I woke up in the hotel, and Cyrus had already returned to college for classes. On the nightstand was the breakfast and note he left. "Your stomach isn't good, remember to eat breakfast." I opened the meal box, and the steamed buns were still warm. I curved my lips into a smile. He remembered my favorite breakfast, which was commendable. I opened my phone and transferred 500,000 to Cyrus. Back in the car, I lifted my left hand, quietly admiring that silver ring in the sunlight. The size was just right, and the outer ring was engraved with the initials of my name and Cyrus's name. It was clear that the giver had put a lot of thought into it. I took it off and placed it in the glove compartment. Then, I replaced it with the large diamond ring from my wedding. I thought aimlessly. What does my marriage to Bert Pedler mean? Probably just a deal to make both families' businesses more prosperous. The day after the wedding, he flew to the UK to find his self-exiled first love. Bert didn't stay in the wedding house for a moment, only saying coldly, "Gina, don't expect to get anything from me. You understand, we're just a business marriage. So, after the wedding, we'll each go our own way and give each other freedom." I agreed and played the role of the gentle and considerate wife. Not long after, I kept a male college student at Northern University. In terms of looks and personality, Cyrus was exactly my type. The only flaw was that he occasionally disobeys. For example, he never wanted to call me honey. I twirled the diamond ring on my finger. This 10-carat diamond ring was meticulously cut and crafted by one of the world's top artisans, extremely ostentatious and dazzling. But I felt it couldn't compare to the simple silver ring Cyrus gave me. I sighed, feeling a bit regretful. Bert Pedler is back. So, I had to be more discreet with Cyrus during this time. After all, it was an underground romance that couldn't be made public. I arrived at the airport on time to pick up Bert. The man, dressed in a sharp black suit, pushed his suitcase and walked out of the terminal slowly. His handsome face stood out in the crowd. I waved at Bert. He walked up to me and nodded slightly. "There's a business gathering tonight, we'll go directly from the airport to the restaurant." He paused before continuing. "Just like before, remember to act close to me in front of others." I nodded obediently. But I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Bert wore an abstinent white shirt, with the top button fastened. However, it didn't cover the ambiguous hickey on his neck. I speculated aimlessly. Bert and his first love must have had a passionate night. He didn't even bother to hide the evidence of his affair, yet he still wanted to pretend to be a loving couple with me. But none of it mattered. He had his first love, and I had my lover. We both had a bright future. There has never been a common topic between Bert and me. So along the way, we just let the silence spread. When we arrived at the party venue, I hooked my arm around his, put on a sweet smile, and started playing the role of a loving couple. Everyone present praised how well-matched we were. But everyone knew the truth. It was just hypocritical social niceties. I felt stifled and hoped this boring banquet would end soon. I found an excuse to leave and walked to the balcony alone, wanting to get some fresh air. However, just as I reached the door, I heard someone whispering, "Hey, do you know about the mysterious young master of the Mercer family, Cyrus Mercer? I heard he returned from studying abroad recently, but I didn't expect to see him here tonight." OMG, I saw him too. He's so handsome. If he could be my boyfriend, I'd be willing to live in a villa and drive a luxury car. Doesn't Cyrus Mercer already have a girlfriend? He never posts on social media, but last night he surprisingly posted a picture of holding hands on his moments. Isn't that a public announcement? I heard he's never had a woman by his side. I'm really curious who managed to win over this unattainable man. Hearing their gossip, I frowned. I had long known that my little lover shared the same name as the young master of the Mercer family. But one is a poor college student, and the other is a distinguished aristocrat. They couldn't possibly be the same person, right? I skeptically opened my phone, only to find that the photo Cyrus posted of holding hands already had many mutual friends liking it, and they were all congratulating him in the comments. They were all friends I was very close within the capital circle. Not only that, even my inherently cold husband had commented, "Congrats." Staring at the screen, I held my breath for a moment, too shocked to speak. Did I actually keep the young master of the capital elite circle as my lover? Haha, and my husband even said congrats. Just then, someone lightly patted my shoulder. Fearing that my guilty deed had been discovered, I shuddered. I forced myself to calm down and turned around, meeting Bert's indifferent expression. He had one hand in his pocket and raised an eyebrow questioningly. "What's wrong? Are you that surprised to see me?" I exhaled, "Nothing." I put away my phone and smiled apologetically in the darkness. "Sorry, honey, I just committed the mistake that all women in the world would make. In this hidden corner, no one noticed us." So Bert didn't bother to continue playing the gentle husband. He impatiently loosened his tie. It's about time, we can consider this done. Let's go, we're leaving. I'll go to the hotel, you go back home, let's not interfere with each other. I quickly agreed. Leaving early was a good idea. Cyrus was still at the party, and if we really ran into each other, it would be impossible to handle. I sighed. It's hard to be a person, even harder to be a woman. Just as we stepped out of the banquet hall, Bert irritably lit a cigarette. I understood completely. After playing the role of a loving husband with a wife he barely knew all evening, who wouldn't be frustrated? I grabbed the keys, intending to head to the parking lot and bring the car around. Behind me, I heard the ding of a lighter cap being flipped open. Then came a low curse. Damn, out of fuel. I turned back with schadenfreude, eager to see Bert struggling to light his cigarette, looking all flustered. But suddenly, a tall, imposing figure emerged from the darkness. He was toying with a silver lighter in his hand, the flame flickering as his fingers moved deftly. He walked up to Bert and chuckled lightly. Buddy, can't even light a cigarette with that thing? Mine's from my girlfriend, just refueled it a couple of days ago. Let me light it for you. The streetlight illuminated Cyrus's familiar face. I was startled and quickly retreated into the shadows. Bert reached out to take the lighter and lit his cigarette. He said casually, "Thanks. Quite a coincidence, our lighters are the same model." Listening from the corner, I couldn't help but facepalm and smile wryly. Of course, they were the same, because I gave you that lighter too. Next time I give gifts, I must be more thoughtful. Really shouldn't order the same thing twice. Cyrus always had a competitive streak. He looked at Bert, his expression smug. It is quite a coincidence. But mine's the more expensive model, probably a bit more special than yours. Cyrus raised an eyebrow, flashing a triumphant smile. By the way, buddy, I just noticed you're not even wearing a wedding ring. Doesn't look like you're married at all. Learn from me, I always wear a couple rings when I go out. Seems like my girlfriend and I have a better relationship. Cyrus spread his left hand, showing Bert the silver ring. The side engraved with our initials was right in front of Bert's eyes. Now, I was really sweating. Bert was already a bit impatient. However, when his gaze fell on that ring, his expression turned to one of stunned surprise. He unconsciously rubbed the silver lighter repeatedly. After a moment, he tossed it back to Cyrus with a displeased look. Bert exhaled a puff of smoke and said coldly, "Childish." By the time I had finally driven the car back, only Bert was left at the entrance. He got into the passenger seat, slamming the door with a hint of irritation still on his face. Bert let out a cold laugh. Is being in a relationship such a big deal now? That childish brat, boasting about his girlfriend over a cigarette. Sorry, hubby. That childish brat's girlfriend was me. In the silence, Bert suddenly leaned in closer, his breath warm on my face. I shifted uncomfortably. What the heck? This guy had no sense of personal space. With a soft click, the ambiguous atmosphere vanished. Bert fastened my seatbelt for me. His long lashes lowered, those deep eyes staring coldly at me. Bert reprimanded. What were you thinking? Not even buckling your seatbelt. But then, he suddenly paused, frowning. He touched my collarbone, his voice icy. Gina, why do you have a hickey here? I looked down in shock. Only then did I realize that at some point, the neckline of my dress had slipped, revealing the red kiss marks along the edge of my collarbone. Cyrus always had a mischievous streak, always leaving marks in hidden places. But I was good at acting. I calmly pulled my collar back into place and gave Bert a gentle smile. When I just reached the parking lot, I accidentally got bitten by a mosquito on the way. My gaze subtly fell on the kiss marks on his neck. Speaking of which, are there a lot of mosquitoes in England too? It looks like you got bitten quite a few times. Bert leaned back in his chair, mocking. Stop being sarcastic, you know I went to England to see her. But this time when I returned, we had already broken up, and I won't be going back. I was a bit surprised. Why? Bert loosened his tie, his expression indifferent. The unattainable is always the best. Once you get a taste, it just feels ordinary. The so-called unattainable lover, after sleeping together, just turns into plain rice, and tastes no different from other things. He turned his face, sneering. Gina, are you worried about your position being unstable? Don't worry, I married you because I chose you. Be good, the position of Mrs. Pedler will always be yours. But I had long since stopped wanting to be Mrs. Pedler. I found it amusing in my heart, but I nodded obediently. Bert smiled with satisfaction. He then put a cigarette in his mouth and took out a lighter, only to realize he didn't have a flame. TSK, that guy I ran into today while smoking was really annoying. Funny thing, his lighter was also gifted by his girlfriend, and her initials are the same as yours. Gina, remember to buy me a new one, I don't want to use the same model as his. Oh, and engrave our initials on it too. I almost blurted out. Do you deserve it? But luckily, I held back, giving Bert a sweet smile. Okay, got it. Married for a year, Bert always treated me like an obedient pet. Indeed, I always appeared well-behaved in front of him. But in reality, I was never a goody two-shoes. The company was always busy in the morning. Employees passing by nodded and greeted me. Good morning, Ms. Gina. I responded with a faint smile. As soon as I arrived at the office, there was already a large stack of documents on the desk. I picked up the materials and began reviewing them one by one. The reason I agreed to marry Bert was not just because of family demands, but also for my own personal reasons. The family's business was declining and urgently needed a marriage alliance to alleviate the financial crisis. Moreover, because the elders in the family favored males over females, I had been unable to enter the management ranks of the family business. Marrying Bert allowed me to naturally enter the Pedler group and showcase my talents. Pretending to be obedient in front of Bert was merely to dispel his guard against me. I had my own ambitions. By evening, I had almost finished handling the documents. I stretched and pulled out the latest quarterly financial report that had just arrived. The final piece of the puzzle was complete. I used the key to open the bottom drawer. Then, I put all these materials into my briefcase. Suddenly, a special notification sound popped up on my phone. It was a message from Cyrus. I miss you a bit. After that banquet. To avoid Bert, the number of times I met with Cyrus decreased significantly. Moreover, work became very busy, and I unintentionally started replying less frequently. Boy toy, are you free tonight? I'd like to have dinner with you after class. Boy toy, I bought concert tickets. Your favorite pianist will be performing. Want to go together? Boy toy, not replying to my messages? Busy? Boy toy, it's been a while since we went to the hotel. Same place, room 1201. Coming? Me, just got off work, on my way. Boy toy, our school's anniversary celebration, can you come and keep me company? Boy toy, okay, silent treatment again, Miss Silent. Boy toy, hotel, room 1201. Me, okay, coming. Boy toy, want some late night snacks? I'll pick you up. Me, no time. Boy toy, then how about the hotel? Me, time is like water in a sponge, if you're willing to squeeze, there's always some. Counting it up, it had been almost a month since Cyrus and I only met in hotels and hadn't gone on a proper date. Perhaps seeing that I hadn't replied, Cyrus sent another message. All right, I actually lied. It's not that I miss you a bit, I miss you a lot, really a lot. I couldn't help but smile. This idiot. Always saying childish love words. But somehow, they always conveyed his passionate love. I looked at the calendar. Today was a day marked long ago with a red pen. Cyrus's birthday. I curled my lips and typed a reply. I miss you too. See you at the bar, I've booked the whole place for tonight. The bar next to the Northern University was where Cyrus and I first met. That day, Bert flew back to England overnight to make his first love happy, just to accompany her to a concert. I thoughtfully helped him pack his luggage. Bert lit a cigarette and smiled with pity. Gina, you really are a dutiful wife. Sometimes, seeing you bustling around me, I actually feel a bit sorry for you. Go out and see the world more, stop being so petty. I had always been obedient. So, that night, I went to the bar and booked all the male models. Half drunk, I suddenly looked up and saw a tall figure leaning against the bar, drinking alone. The man's features were strikingly handsome, a face full of flamboyant charm. 1,000 times more attractive than the male models accompanying me tonight. Just my type. I walked over slowly and sat directly on his lap. His face darkened, and he said in a low voice, "Get down." Smiling, I slipped a bank card into his shirt pocket. "Hey, I really like you. There are 5 million on the card, be my boyfriend?" He pressed his lips together, his expression colder. "You've got the wrong person. I'm a college student, not a male model. And I have a name, MMPH. Before he could finish, I grabbed his collar and kissed him, sealing his words with a kiss. That was how the relationship between Cyrus and me began. The same familiar bar counter. Cyrus had been waiting for me there for a while. When he saw me, he said sarcastically, "Oh, isn't this Miss Silent? Been busy lately, huh? Finally found time to grace me with your presence?" I smiled and pulled a cake out of my bag, placing it in front of Cyrus. "Don't be mad. I remembered today is your birthday. Happy birthday." Only then did Cyrus's lips curve slightly, his mood improving a bit. I lit the candles for him. Cyrus closed his eyes and made a sincere wish towards the candles. In the flickering deep yellow candlelight, his usually domineering handsome face seemed softer. After a long while, Cyrus finally blew out the candles. I teased him. "Was it a very important wish? You seemed to think about it for a long time." Cyrus just looked at me intently with his eyelashes lowered. Just when I thought he wouldn't answer, he suddenly spoke, "I have only one wish. To be with you forever." My first reaction was to find it amusing. The word forever is easy to say, but how many can actually achieve it? But I looked up and met Cyrus's incredibly serious expression. Those familiar eyes were still calm. But deep inside, there was an emotion I couldn't understand. It was like a sudden rain shower in summer. The drizzle of love wetted the hem of my clothes. The bar's song changed to the next one, a slow jazz tune started playing. In such an atmosphere, it seemed like all lies could be unconditionally forgiven. Propping up my face, I casually said, "What if I told you, from the very beginning, I lied to you? Would you still want to be with me?" Cyrus's expression went blank for a moment. The smile that had been on his lips flattened into a line. He straightened up, looking down at me. "What do you mean?" I ignored Cyrus's angry look. Just smiled lightly and tidied up his messy collar. "There's no need to get so mad, is there? From the time we started dating until now, you haven't told me your identity either." "Young master." Cyrus was speechless. He irritably poured a glass of whiskey and drank it in one gulp. "I didn't mean to hide it. Forget it, we're even now. Tell me, what did you lie about?" I smiled brightly, "Then I'll tell the truth. I have a husband, I'm actually married." Cyrus choked on his drink, coughing uncontrollably. I patted his back, comforting him. "But it's just a business marriage. And we're getting divorced soon." Only then did Cyrus calm down. He said sarcastically, "Oh, so I've been the other man for over 4 months." I sincerely said, "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If you can't accept it and want to break up, that's fine too. Let's try to part on good terms." Cyrus stared at me and suddenly laughed. He snorted coldly with a hint of meaning. "Oh? Did you hear me say I wanted to break up?" I was stunned for a moment. Cyrus leaned closer to me, his voice seductive. "And, to make it up to me, I can do anything to you now, right, honey?" This was the first time Cyrus called me honey. My ears tingled at his words. Cyrus lifted my chin, forcing me to look up. The next second, he kissed my lips. As soon as I entered the hotel room, I fell into Cyrus's embrace. It was more passionate than ever before. I was almost speechless in the midst of it all. I whimpered and bit Cyrus's shoulder. But he ignored my pleas for mercy and laughed even more arrogantly. "Honey, doing this with me. Aren't you afraid your husband will get jealous?" I thought in a daze. Oh no, Cyrus is really angry. The phone on the bedside table kept ringing, showing that it was Bert calling. But neither of us had the time to care. Cyrus gritted his teeth and whispered in my ear. "Honey, I'm begging you. When you go back, hurry up and ask your useless husband for a divorce. I don't want to be the other man anymore." When I got up, looking at the scattered clothes all over the floor, I couldn't help but sigh. The slip dress I wore last night was completely torn apart in Cyrus's hands. I kicked the instigator, who was still sound asleep on the bed. Cyrus slept soundly and lazily turned over. So infuriating. In the end, I could only wear Cyrus's shirt and jacket to go home. When I opened the door, I was surprised to see the man sitting on the sofa. I asked in astonishment, "Why are you here?" On the coffee table were a melting cream cake and an ashtray filled to the brim. Bert seemed to have been waiting here all night. He scoffed coldly. "This is our marital home. Can't I come back? Yesterday was my birthday. I wanted to spend it with you. I waited for you all night. Why didn't you come home?" I didn't answer. Bert lifted his head and met my gaze. He suddenly lost his composure and stood up. "Gina, where the hell did you go messing around? I don't need to look in the mirror to know what I look like right now." My open collar reveals a large area of skin, covered with ambiguous kiss marks and bite marks left by Cyrus. Oh, looks like the affair has been exposed. The mask of the good girl can finally come off. I spread my hands, utterly calm. "As you can see, I went out to find a male lover." Bert's eyes were bloodshot, and he spoke angrily. "Damn it, you dare, you actually dare." Bert grabbed an ashtray and viciously smashed it against the wall. He took a deep breath and after a while, spoke in a low voice. "Who is that person?" His gaze fell on me, almost laughing in anger. "Huh, you're still wearing the male lover's jacket? How come it looks the same as the one that idiot I met while smoking was wearing?" He propped up his forehead. Right. No wonder the lighter is the same model, and the initials are the same. I even commented congrats on his social media post. How stupid of me. Bert went crazy, knocking over the entire shelf. Bottles shattered, leaving a mess on the ground. I still spoke with a smile. "Bingo, congratulations, you guessed it. The male lover is Cyrus Mercer. Why are you so angry? Since we got married, haven't you been having affairs too? And we agreed from the beginning that we would each have our own fun. But now that you've found out, let's talk about divorce." Bert was silent for a while. He irritably lit a cigarette, taking a deep drag. "Gina, you overestimate yourself too much, don't you? Do you think you can leave me just because you latched onto Cyrus Mercer? You're too naive. He might just see you as a plaything. If we divorce, the company will withdraw its investment from your family, and then you can watch your family go bankrupt. Without me, you're nothing." I raised an eyebrow, not commenting. Bert slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. His face was full of confident determination. "Gina, I know you've always been obedient. This time, it must be him who seduced you, right? If you break up with him, I can still forgive you. We both had affairs, I can let the past go, just wipe the slate clean. I'm tired of playing outside. I want to return to the family. From now on, you can be my Mrs. Pedler." I said regretfully. "What a pity, I don't want to be Mrs. Pedler anymore, I just want to be the unique Gina. Stop being delusional, I've never been a good girl, and I don't need your forgiveness. You must agree to the divorce." I took out the documents I had prepared from my handbag. Placed them on the coffee table, pushing them towards Bert. "These are all the evidence I've gathered from working at the company for a year. Falsifying accounts, tax evasion. Tell me, if this news gets out, will the Pedler Group's stock plummet?" Bert's eyes were blood red as he frantically flipped through the reports. Finally, he pressed the still-burning cigarette butt onto the paper. Flames rose, the paper burned, curled, and turned to ashes. Though lifeless, it inexplicably felt like it was crying. I took a step back, still calm and composed. "I have backups of all the materials, burning them is useless." Bert collapsed onto the sofa, seemingly exhausted. "What exactly do you want?" "We get divorced." I held up 3 fingers, just enough for Bert to see the silver ring on my ring finger. I smiled boldly. And, I want 30% of the Pedler Group's shares. Bert was furious and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I leisurely looked around. The living room was littered with debris. Cake and cigarette butts were mixed together, forming an indistinguishable mess. It was practically a wasteland. But this was good. Disorder and chaos could bring about new beginnings. Just then, my phone rang. It was a message from Cyrus. I just woke up. Why aren't you here? Did you just leave me all alone like that? Did you go to work? Why aren't you replying? Are you abandoning me? I remember now, you said we should part amicably yesterday. Don't tell me you're leaving after one last fling. No, I want to cling to you forever. I don't want to break up. I couldn't help but laugh. I raised my phone and took a picture of the messy living room. I just got home after discussing divorce with my useless husband. Reply yes if you agree to an affair at home, reply no if you don't. Cyrus sent a rolling dog emoji. Yes, yes. I'll be right there. In the end, we didn't have an affair. Cyrus brought a large trash bag and diligently started cleaning up the mess. This princely man had always been pampered, his hands never touching any menial work. But surprisingly, he was quite competent at cleaning. As he mopped the floor, he sighed theatrically. It seems your husband isn't much, leaving the house like this. TSK, he must have a violent streak. Such people are truly scary. Luckily, it was just a business marriage. I noticed there's hardly anything of his in this house. Men like him deserve to be divorced. Seeing his smug expression, I couldn't help but smile. Are you that happy? Cyrus replied confidently, of course. I'm about to become your legitimate boyfriend, how could I not be happy? I felt like teasing him. But right now, you're just the other man. Aren't you afraid I'll cheat on you too? Cyrus's smile froze. He ruffled his messy bangs and said sullenly, I'm not like your ex-husband. I'm not a boring old man. I'm young, fit, and didn't you say you loved my face the most? Cyrus then took out a card from his pocket and handed it to me. He looked serious. And I have a lot of money. I'll take care of you from now on. I saved all the allowance you gave me, and I transferred all my money to this card. I'm giving it all to you. Please don't leave me, okay? I deliberately spoke slowly, then. Cyrus furrowed his brows, anxiously waiting for my answer. Let's see how you perform. Please take care of me, my boyfriend. Cyrus placed a feather-light kiss on my forehead. Yes, ma'am. Recently, I haven't been going to the office. However, I occasionally hear news about Bert. It's said that Bert is overwhelmed by the bad debts. The amount of tax evasion is substantial, and he's racking his brains to make up for it. Of course, I haven't forgotten to add fuel to the fire. I just slightly hinted to the reporters, and the stocks of Pedler Group started to decline. As I expected, it wasn't long before Bert sent a message of compromise. I signed my name on the share transfer agreement, feeling elated. I raised an eyebrow at Bert, pleasant cooperation, Mr. Pedler. Bert's face was so dark it could drip water. It had only been a month since we last met, but he seemed like a different person. His cheeks were deeply sunken, and he looked emaciated. He hadn't even trimmed his beard, looking completely down and out. He had entirely lost his former noble demeanor. I stretched lazily. Let's go, get the divorce certificate. At the Civil Affairs Bureau, Bert remained silent. Until the staff stamped the divorce certificate, symbolizing finality. Bert suddenly spoke. Gina, the reason you married me was to use me, wasn't it? Did you ever truly love me? With the divorce certificate in hand, I finally felt at ease. I stood up leisurely, unable to resist mocking Bert. Bert, don't you find it funny? You prided yourself on being deeply affectionate, but flew to England to find your first love the day after our wedding. Yet within a year, you said that the women you've slept with and had in your grasp made you feel bored. A selfish, despicable, and cold-hearted guy like you, talking about true feelings? I patted Bert on the shoulder. You always treated women as playthings, never thought you'd be played by a woman one day, did you? You're right, this marriage was impure from the start. I just wanted to use you as a stepping stone. So what? In this game, I'm the winner. Just admit defeat. Bert's face turned pale, his fist clenched, even trembling with anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "Gina, you're truly vicious. So what if I get scolded a bit? Anyway, the shares and the divorce settlement are already in my hands." I hummed a tune as I walked out, casually waving at Bert as a goodbye. "Thanks for the divorce settlement, ex-husband, it's just right as my startup capital. Bye-bye." "Goodbye, my useless ex-husband. I'm off to start a beautiful and bright new life." A red Ferrari was already parked at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Cyrus had repainted it overnight, drawing chibi versions of me and him on the car, boldly declaring his claim. It was still raining outside, and Cyrus hurriedly opened the door to hold an umbrella for me. Although the umbrella could cover 2 people, it still tilted towards me. A gray, rainy day. But with him by my side, the gloomy weather suddenly didn't seem so unpleasant. The sports car sped away, the world in the rearview mirror getting farther and farther. For some reason, Bert stood in the rain for a long time, reluctant to leave. That night, the topic "Mystery Man Spends Big for Girlfriend with Grand Fireworks" shot to the top of the headlines in the capital's social circle. The evening breeze was a bit chilly. Leaning against Cyrus's chest, I quietly watched the dazzling fireworks bloom in the sky. The fireworks spread out, resembling shattered stars falling into the city. I suddenly thought of the scene on Cyrus's birthday. The tiny glimmers from the birthday candles were somewhat similar to the trajectory of the falling fireworks. From the front, the fireworks looked circular; from the side, they resembled a lover's face. At that moment, I turned my head and met Cyrus's gentle gaze. Smiling, I asked him, "On your birthday, you said you had only one wish. Has that wish changed now?" Cyrus held me close. His chin rested on my shoulder, so close that his warm breath made my ears tingle. "It will never change. I want to be with you forever and ever." I extended my left hand and secretly hooked my pinky with Cyrus's little finger. "Then let's make a pinky promise." Cyrus kissed my cheek. "All right, pinky promise. Never change." Cyrus Mercer's perspective. "Cyrus, there's a concert at school tonight. Want to go watch?" "Sure." I decided to go to the concert just to kill some time. By the time I arrived at the auditorium, I was already late. The performance had begun. The hall was pitch dark. Only a spotlight slowly lit up. I casually lifted my gaze, not expecting to be so captivated. The girl on stage sat quietly at the piano, her fingers dancing on the keys like butterflies. The light outlined her profile. She was as beautiful as a sculpture. It felt like encountering a divine miracle. The music playing in my earphones seamlessly matched the piano's melody. It was the same jazz piece. Feigning indifference, I commented, "Not bad." "Do you know who the person on stage is?" My friend glanced at me and snickered mischievously. "That's Gina from senior class 5. She's so famous, and you don't know her?" "Hey, Cyrus, why is your face so red? Don't tell me you fell in love with her at first sight." I turned my face away and coldly retorted, "Nonsense." But even as I turned away, I couldn't help stealing glances at her on stage. Gina from senior class 5. Got it. Actually, I didn't think I paid much attention to her. But it seemed I was unconsciously creating chances to run into her. I often saw her at the bubble tea shop. Her favorite drink was milk tea, with 30% sugar and less ice. Passing by the music room, I always saw her there. Turns out we both really liked jazz music. I never missed any concert she participated in. I awkwardly recalled what my friend had said. All right. I had to admit. Love at first sight perfectly described my feelings for her. Plans can't keep up with changes. I had even written my love letter. I was planning to confess to her at the end of the semester. But unexpectedly, I failed my exams. Grandpa scolded me severely and sent me abroad to study that very night. I couldn't take it. I hated my incompetence. I completed my university courses ahead of schedule. I also received an offer from Northern University. I boarded the plane back home, feeling eager to return. I really wanted to see her. My plan was this. Chapter 1, Return Home. Chapter 2, Reunion. Chapter 3, Pursuit. Chapter 4, Confession. But my friend raised an eyebrow in confusion. You mean Gina? She just got married a while ago. I heard a crack sound. Jesus. It turned out to be my heart breaking. I felt like an insignificant thief, secretly gathering information about her husband. An old man, a cheater, not good to her at all. It's really infuriating. But fortunately, it was just a business marriage with no emotional foundation. After finishing my experiment, I went to the bar next to the school to drink away my sorrows. Should I become the other man? This is truly a troubling question. I took out the coin from my pocket. If it's tails, then I won't. If it's heads, then I will. I flipped the coin once. No, it's tails. This time doesn't count. How about flipping it again? While I was hesitating, suddenly my lap felt warm. Am I dreaming? How did she end up sitting on my lap? Her face was flushed, and she looked up at me with a bright smile. Oh no. Is she drunk? I can't take advantage of her. So, I put on a cold expression. Get down. Unexpectedly, she grabbed my collar. The next second, I felt a warmth on my lips. I felt my ears burning. My first kiss. She keeps giving me her bank card and transferring money to me. I seem to have become her boy toy. She transferred another $500,000 to me. Why don't you accept it? Is it because you don't like me? Sigh, fine, I give up. I diligently saved every penny into my bank account. I have to say, being the other man is really tough. I didn't dare reveal my true identity. Nor did I dare to tell her that I had liked her for a long time. She remembered my birthday. She said she lied to me, that she's actually a married woman. Sorry, baby, actually, I'm the one who lied to you. I always knew I was just a clandestine lover. But I am indeed a bit angry. I really want her to divorce that old man soon. Being the other man is really exhausting. Yay! Great news! How did you know I succeeded in becoming her official boyfriend? How did you know we started living together? Happy! She looked up at the sky. Fireworks fell, their light flashing and illuminating the side of her face. It reminded me of the moment I first saw her many years ago. I held her hand a little tighter. I felt so useless. Still a thief. I was secretly grateful again. Time goes round and round. Fortunately, I didn't miss my lover.